Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. This is Mr. Shakespeare here again with you on the 27th of February 2023. I'm here with remote viewer and psychic medium and court TV watcher, Liz Cross. How are you doing today, Liz?
That would be my dream job. Being the court TV mind probe psychic. Oh my God. Yes, totally. They actually had somebody on there reading his body language. I'm like, man, they need to hire me. I would do it for free. I wouldn't even care. I would just want to do it. I love this stuff.
You can't do it for free. Then all your Patreon members will be like, but we never see Liz anymore.
I know. But, I love this stuff. So I know you don't know much about this. I sprung this on you this morning.
Yeah, you did.
On Friday, Alex Murdaugh was testifying in his double murder trial of being charged with the shooting deaths of his wife and his son at his home. And this is like a John Grisham novel. And I love John Grisham. I do. I love John Grisham books. This is just so crazy. So for those people that are not familiar with this case, I'll just do a quick recap. The Murdaugh family, very Southern aristocratic family in the Low Country of South Carolina. Several generations of very prominent lawyers and had a lot of persuasion in the town. In with the government, seemed to dodge the law quite a bit. And so now we've got this big web, which is his son, Paul, who was murdered. He was driving some boat in the middle of the night. He was drunk. He was going very fast. He crashed into a bridge. A girl fell off the back of the boat. She was never found. She was dead. So there was this massive lawsuit against the son, Paul, who is now dead. Then there's this kid that was found beaten up and left for dead on the side of the road. He was murdered down some backcountry lane. And so this, you have to understand, and for those of you that are not familiar with the South, right? The South, like this stuff, like doesn't happen, right? These are small town, Southern charm people. And like this kind of scandal, this level is just unheard of. So this kid was found on some backcountry road, beaten to a pulp. He died of his injuries. He was murdered. Now, somehow the Murdaugh name was attached to this. Now, just to go ahead and recap what I did with channeling Eric, this kid says Murdaugh was not involved in his murder. I've channeled him. He was not involved. It was a truckload of people, several boys that beat him up. He was set up. He was supposed to meet somebody on the side of the road, and it was several boys that beat him up. Okay, now we move into Alex Murdaugh, who is the father of Buster and Paul. Paul is dead. Okay. Alex Murdaugh is a high-flying, or was a high-flying lawyer. His housekeeper mysteriously fell down his stairs at his home. He managed to get millions in insurance money, stole the money. He stole from his clients. He stole from the law firm. He stole from everybody because he had a 60 to 100 pill opioid addiction for years. And he took 60 to 100 pills a day, which is crazy. Now, Court TV tried to do the math on the cost of these pills. I got news for them. These pills are not $10 or $15 each. The street value is normally $100 to $120 a pill. So if you imagine that's a $10,000, $12,000 a day opioid habit, addiction. So then we go to the point where there was an assassination attempt on his life. He was changing a tire on the side of the road. And I'm sorry for those of you that already know this, but we do have a lot of international listeners that don't. He was changing a tire on the side of the road, and somebody came by, tried to shoot him. Somehow it left a mark on his head, but the bullet didn't penetrate the brain. And that turns out that that was his own plot, suicide plot, where he had paid a distant cousin to kill or attempt to kill him. And then, of course, his wife and his son end up shot and dead at their home. So now, here we are. This guy is on trial for many different things, but the trial that everybody is glued to is his murder trial for his wife and his son. Now, he freely admits he stole, he lied, he hurt people. He freely admits that, but he says, I would never hurt my wife or my kids. So here we are, Mr. Shakespeare. I told you, this is like a John Grisham novel. I mean, that's the best way to sum it up. And we have quite a few questions from the Patreon, Discord. So fire away.
Okay. Right. All right. So we'll do this in a sort of an order.
Of course, this would never happen in the UK because, you know, in the UK, they don't really keep these trials very public, do they? They don't have all this.
You wouldn't be able to, well, you could discuss it, but you wouldn't be able to start doing the kind of things that you do there, because it could all be, it could be deemed, one side could say it's prejudicial to the jury. So, you know, they don't hold, I mean, yes, they hold trials and reporters are there, but they're not allowed to, it's not like court TV and make, you know, a spectacle of everything. They don't do that. So.
Yeah, and you don't want to, exactly right. You don't want to prejudice the jury. How can he have a fair trial? I mean, there was what did you say, a Netflix documentary? There's another 48-hour Dateline documentary. I mean, the media are all over this family.
Well, yeah, because they see it as a way of making money. That's why. It's not because they particularly care about him or what he's done. It's just another way of making money, because at the end of the day, they're there to sell stuff. And if, you know, if they create the need, then the public will come, won't they?
Well, the reason I wanted to probe the jury is because the jurors, when he is breaking down on the stand crying, right?
Mm.
And he's very, like, when you're listening to him on trial, when you're listening to him give testimony, you start to like this guy, right? He's very likable. He's very believable. He's crying. He's, you know, and I don't think it's fake tears. Like, what's his name? That kid that turned up wherever it was with a gun and killed people. This guy, Rittenberg or whatever his name was. But this guy is believable. And he has real tears. And, you know, it's not dripping from his nose and he's just letting it all go. Now, bearing in mind, he was a former prosecutor as well, so he knows how to play the game. But the most alarming thing for the law or the legal analysis team on court TV is the fact that the jurors are crying along with him. And this is scaring everybody because they're like, Jesus, if the jury are crying along with him, there's no way they're going to convict this guy. So I thought we would probe the jury. So there you go, Mr. Shakespeare. Take it away.
Right. Okay. So you want to do the jury first? I was going to do the prosecution first, but it's up to you. All right. Let's do the prosecution first.
Okay.
So I'm not sure who the prosecution is, but maybe you can.
The prosecutor, you know, he is not coming across as very likable right now. And that's dangerous in a court case. He is, you know, he's kind of arrogant and people are getting upset. And, you know, if you only look at the Casey Anthony trial where that girl in Orlando had murdered her own daughter and she got away with it. Well, that was because and this is not my words, these are, Court TV's analysis. It's because the defense attorney was so likable. That's all you need. So the prosecutor is Creighton Waters.
Okay, so if you grab Creighton, please, on the first bunch of questions. So okay, have you got him?
I do. And actually, my first thing, this is so funny because they're in trial right now, right? If as we're recording this, and you know what? He may come across as calm and cool and arrogant and all that. But as I'm dipping into Mr. Waters, he is sweating bullets. He knows that this is his case of a lifetime, and he has got to put this guy away. Okay, what's your question?
Okay, what is my question? Oh, hold on. Sorry, hold on. I just flicked on the wrong.
I know you have a lot.
Okay, what does he think about Murdaugh's testimony?
What do you think about Murdaugh's testimony? It's all a pack of lies. This guy is not capable of telling the truth.
Okay, what does he think he was doing when he took those 283 steps?
What do you think that Murdaugh was doing when he took those 283 steps that were logged on his phone on the night of the murder? He was doing his cleanup job.
How do you think you are doing so far?
How do you think you are doing so far as a prosecutor? He doesn't think he's doing well. I'm surprised by that because he doesn't come across like that at all. But actually, let's remind people, because this is going to bring a lot of new people into the channel, right? Mind probes are their own personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions. So right now, his personal opinion of how he's doing, he thinks he's doing very bad. He hasn't been able to trip him up, is what he just said to me.
Okay. Who do you think the jury is siding with currently?
The jury is siding with currently. He has no idea.
Okay.
Ooh, that's very telling, because all eyes are on the jury through these trials, right? So you have your whole teams of people in there. They're watching the jurors. You're going to have your, couple of people there that are studying the jurors, studying the reactions. The fact that he is very uncertain, that's not a good sign.
Does he think it's possible that someone else has killed Maggie and Paul?
Do you think it's possible that someone else has killed Maggie and Paul? Absolutely not.
Okay. Why does he think that he killed them? Murdaugh.
That Murdaugh killed his wife and his son. Collect insurance money. He's a callous, cold-hearted, drug-addicted, corrupt person.
Well, you think that was his motive then? Is that what he thinks his motive was? Yeah.
Absolutely. And he says, and if he had the chance, he would have killed his own parents too.
Okay. Does he think that the jury likes him? Him being the prosecutor, not, and is that whether they do or whether they don't, is that important to him?
Do you think that the jury likes you? No, he doesn't think that the jury likes him. He's not coming across very well. Have you been told that you're not coming across well? Yes, he's been told several times to come across as more compassionate, but he's not. He's not coming across compassionate at all. Anybody who's watching this case can see that. I mean, I understand why, but he really has to rein in this new testimony, this new information, constantly throwing it in his face. He says in his own exact words, and I'm quoting him word for word, "I'm making myself look like the S word."
Right. Does he think that Murdaugh is intelligent?
Do you think that Murdaugh is intelligent? Extremely.
Why does he believe? Why does he think that? Why does he
Why
believe that?
he's extreme? Because he can't trip him up. He can't fool him. He can't get him to break on the stand.
Even though
He's the hardest person.
even though this guy's been on drugs every day for so long. No?
Even though this guy has been on drugs. Absolutely. He's saying he is by far, is he the hardest person he's ever had to question on the stand. He is extremely intelligent. He's saying it's almost like not even human level intelligence. He's saying it's so far above human thinking. He cannot trip this guy whatsoever.
Okay, moving on to the jury.
Okay, so I'll grab the jury as a whole. So we'll grab them as a complete entity. The Murdaugh jury. I feel like they're in session. I really do. They're sitting there. Okay.
Do you, the jury, do they believe that Alex Murdaugh killed his wife and son?
Do you believe that that Alex Murdaugh killed his wife and son? Okay. So this is today's current thoughts, feelings, and opinions. Okay. And let's just remind everybody of the date, which is February 27th. This is their current thought, feeling, and opinion. Most of them do believe that he is guilty. However, there are 2 jurors in there that don't think that he's capable of doing this. They say, yes, he is a thief. Yes, he is a liar, but they actually believe he's drawn a line and he would never cross that line at hurting his wife or his son.
Okay.
Do you think he killed the housekeeper? Yeah, they do. They think he killed the housekeeper. Everybody is in unison when I asked if he killed the housekeeper, and that is, yes, they do believe that as far as the jury. Now, just to walk away from the jury a bit here, when I actually probed whether he pushed this housekeeper down the stairs, he didn't. What he actually did is he was waiting on the stairs for her to start walking down. And as she started walking down, he held his left leg out and he tripped her. That's how he killed her. He actually did not touch her back. He knew better than that. He actually held his foot out and tripped her.
Okay. What does the jury think about the fact that he was caught on video at the kennels and lying about being there? His voice was clearly heard on the video about the dog that had a chicken in its mouth.
What do you think about the fact that he is clearly on the video, on the camera, on the video at the kennels? He lied. And how do you feel about that lie? It's despicable. And are you local people? These are not local people, okay? These are handpicked from somewhere else. Do you know the Murdaugh family? They do not know the Murdaugh family personally. And how does that change your guilty or not guilty verdict? How are you leaning because of that lie? Now, if you're focusing on that lie alone, all of them are leaning towards guilty.
Okay, did the jury walk into this case believing that he was guilty?
Did you walk into this case believing that he was guilty? No, they walked in with an open mind.
Apparently there were 2 jurors that were crying. Why were they crying?
There were 2 jurors. 2 of you were crying. Why were you crying? Because of what happened. It was a horrible thing. Are you crying in sympathy for him? Yes. You see, here's where you got the problem. You got 2 jurors that are saying, we sympathize, we empathize, we understand. If we saw our family members lying there with gunshot wounds to the head and their brains spilling out, we would be upset too. So are you crying because he was crying? Yes, we're crying because it's such a sad event. But is that changing the fact that you think he's not guilty? I mean, do you think he's not guilty based upon that? Yes. You see, here's your two jurors right here. These are the ones that are crying.
Okay. Do they think the prosecution is doing a good job?
Do you think the prosecution is doing a good job? No, they think the prosecutor is very mean. So if he was right in his assumption, then.
Okay. If they were to issue a verdict right now, what would it be?
If you were to issue a verdict right now, what would it be? Guilty on all charges.
Do they feel that Murdaugh is a good person? Murdaugh, sorry. Is a
in
good
your
person?
best Southern accent, Mr. Shakespeare, please.
Oh,
Murdaugh.
Murdaugh. Do they believe that Murdaugh is a good person?
Do you believe that Alex Murdaugh is a good person? Again, those two, they're holding up their hand. They say yes, but the others, no.
Do they believe that he was at his parents' house?
Do you believe that he was at his parents' house? Yes. Do you believe that he was at his parents' house at the time of the murders? No.
Do they believe that he lies quickly?
Do you believe that he lies quickly? Yes. They also think he's an absolute genius.
Are they surprised how intelligent he is coming across?
Are you surprised how intelligent he is coming across? No, they expected that of him.
Do they believe that he is controlling the prosecution?
Do you believe that Alex Murdaugh is controlling the prosecution? No.
Do they feel that the boating accident is relevant to the case?
Do you feel that the boating accident is relevant to the case? No. I'm surprised by that answer.
Do they believe that he had paranoid thinking and that's why he lied about being on the property?
Do you believe he has paranoid thinking? No. Okay. They believe he's lying about that.
Okay. Hang on.
These are good questions. Do you believe that he will face the death penalty? No, they don't believe he's going to face the death penalty. Do you believe that he did have gun resin on his hands? Yes, we were told that by fact. Everybody should be watching this trial. Just based on the forensic evidence alone. See, I've always said this, and I said this in another probe, and that was the Idaho killers on Channeling Eric. Whereas how they're going to catch the guy, right? And I'm going to call a hit on that, is through the phone data. And here, yet again, your phone data is so crucial to what you're doing, right? They're getting everybody's footsteps. That his son had posted a video to Snapchat. He didn't know that. Every bit of data on everybody's phone. Wife pulled up at such and such a time. She took 17 or 18 steps from her vehicle, and then she got back in her vehicle. You pulled up at such and such a time, and how long did it take you to drive down to the kennels? Well, it took me 2 minutes, you know. And well, okay, and you did how many footsteps? Oh, well, your phone data shows that you may have done this amount of footsteps, or they did this amount of footsteps. And see, they can tell from the phone data what time the murder was, because presumably at that point, the wife and the son stopped taking footsteps, right? And so they know what time the wife and the son were killed because they stopped moving. You've got people that are moving continuously, and then suddenly they stop moving. So I'm guessing that's what they're going to say the time of death is going to be. But then he claims he went straight back up to the house. First of all, he claimed he wasn't there. Then the video of him being at the kennel came out, and they had loads of people testify that is definitely his voice on the video. You can hear it. It is his voice. And then he says, I went back up to the house. I fell asleep, and then I went to see my elderly parents. Right? So he's claiming he wasn't there at the time of the murder. But he definitely, if those of you that saw the Channeling Eric Mind probe, he definitely was the one that murdered them.
Right. Well, let's move on to himself then. Let's ask him some questions.
Okay.
You got a connection with him?
I do.
How many people has he directly been responsible for the death of?
How many people have you directly been responsible for the death of? 4.
Does that include his wife and his son?
Does that include your wife and son? Yes, and there are 2 others.
Does anybody know about these 2 others?
Does anyone know about these 2 others? No, they're out of state.
So why were they killed, the ones out of state?
Why were they killed? I feel like they didn't give him what they wanted. One was definitely a female. In that probe that I did, we uncovered that, because everybody's like, where's all the money? You've stolen at least $10 million that they've been able to trace. Where's all the money? And we uncovered that he had bought like quite a few rental properties all over the place, and that he was collecting rent off these rental properties. And he also would have sex with the tenants, the female tenants, in place of their rent. Now, I'm going to go ahead and call that he probably was not only a drug addict, but probably a sex addict as well. He was visiting prostitutes quite a lot. Obviously, he doesn't want that to come out in the testimony, because that would prove, a lot of trouble between he and his wife. I feel that one of them is a female prostitute.
Sorry, one of the ones that he killed out of state, you mean?
Yes, is a female prostitute. And and there's another person that's an old man. And I feel like he stole a bunch of cash from an old man.
Okay, why did he kill his wife and son?
Why did you kill your wife and son? Well, part of him says, I couldn't take it anymore. What could you not take? The fact that they were on to me. What else? What did you want to kill for money? Okay, so apparently the wife had some access to some funding that would have gone to him. At this point, he's rapidly running out of money. He can't turn anywhere else for money, right? He's stolen as much as he can. He has, hidden as much as he can. Were you trying to, did you need this money to feed your drug habit? Yeah, he did. He did need this money to feed his drug habit. So was that the only thing that was important to you? It controlled my life, he said.
The drugs controlled his life, yeah?
Yes.
Why didn't he go and seek help for his addiction?
Why didn't he seek help for the addiction? He tried several times.
Right. Okay.
What he should have been doing is in our CTT group. There's a part of me that knows how to let go and heal all of this drug addiction. Okay, next question.
How could he have let greed and embarrassment become more important than the lives of, all these people around him, his loved one? Is this part of his soul contract?
Oh, how can he let greed and embarrassment become, so overbearing in your life? He says, I didn't realize what I was doing. Is this part of his soul contract? So let me take a look at his soul. Is this part of your soul contract? Very much between he and his wife. There's always this contract that's made where he is very abusive to her. And this is a repeat pattern in this lifetime as well, where, again, very abusive to her. Did you ever beat your wife? Yeah, he did. He hit his wife. He smacked her around.
Was he the actual cause of Gloria Satterfield's death? Let's ask
I
him.
don't know who that is. Were you the?
Wasn't that the housekeeper or whatever her name?
Oh, is that the housekeeper? Okay.
Gloria Satterfield, I think.
Of Gloria Satterfield's death. Yes, he tripped her on the stairs.
Deliberately.
Well, he says not with my conscious mind, but certainly with my subconscious and my soul. I feel like he had no control over his conscious mind whatsoever. His conscious mind was.
Why did he do it then? Why did he do it?
Why did you do it? For money.
Okay. And is that the money feeding back to his drug habits?
Is that the money feeding back to your drug? Yes. He needed money.
Right. Who killed Stephen Smith?
Who killed Stephen Smith? He actually doesn't know.
Was it his son, Buster?
Was it your son, Buster? He doesn't know. Would it surprise you that your son killed somebody? No. It wouldn't surprise him that his son killed somebody, but he doesn't know. Now, this is the kid that was found on the dirt road or the old back road and was beaten to death.
Right. There's a question here about where's it gone? Mallory Beach. I don't know who that is.
She was the girl on the boat.
Oh, right. So the question is, how is Mallory Beach doing in heaven? Was this a soul contract? What happened to her?
How is Mel? How are you? Let me channel her. How are you doing? She hates the Murdaugh family. She is not okay. She's okay. Yeah, she's over on the other side and she's full of love and joy in that regard. But as far as like her personal thoughts, feelings, and attachments to her, her last lifetime, she's disgusted by the amount of pain that her death has caused many, many people.
Right. Okay, put him out 2 years, please.
Okay, so let's go February 27th. Ooh, it's already coming back. He's not happy. 2025, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay.
Is he in a federal or state penitentiary?
Are you in jail? Yeah, he was convicted.
Okay. What
He was
sentence?
convicted.
What did they give him?
What did you get? Life plus many, many other years on top of that. Did you get the death penalty? No, I was spared the death penalty. I don't know if South Carolina is the death penalty state. I haven't checked that. So were you also convicted of all your financial crimes? He pled guilty to all those financial crimes as well. So he's got life plus many years on top. Are you in a penitentiary? Yes, he's in a state prison. How are you getting on in there? He wants to kill himself. So they're going to have to watch him because he does want to commit suicide.
Okay.
Do you feel any remorse for the murders? Yes. So at this point, 2 years out, he does feel a lot of remorse for the killings, how he got caught up in drugs, how this became a total disaster. Do you talk to your son, Buster? Yes, he still talks to his surviving son, Buster. Does he come to see you? Not really. I think they correspond. How's he doing? He's not doing well. I actually got in one of the probes that I did when I was doing a reading for somebody last week. They also wanted to know a lot about this case. That Buster ends up like his dad. He ends up on drugs. So this isn't good. Yeah.
So how, if he's been in penitentiary in jail for however long, obviously he doesn't have access to the drugs that he does. So it's a form of rehab, isn't it?
Is it a form? It is. It is. No, but Buster's the son. He's the
No,
dad.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Alex Murdaugh. Like, he's now locked up. He's been found guilty. Well, obviously, I'm trying to get to the bottom of this drug thing. So the drugs seems to have caused everything in his 3D mind. The addiction, the money, and everything. But now he's locked up. He hasn't got access to all of that. So how has he become clean? Is he clean off the drugs now, or is he still doing them in jail? I don't know.
The drugs now. He says, I'll never be clean. Are you still doing drugs in jail? No, he's not doing drugs in jail, but he just said, I'll never be clean.
Right. Because obviously sometimes when people come off like addictions, the whole cold turkey experience, and it's really bad. So of course, a lot of people watching this and listening to this might be thinking, well, he had to go through all this, kill all these people, do all this to get all this money to feed an addiction, which then made it self-perpetuating. And now he's locked up. He's forced not to have drugs. Now he's having remorse and things like that because his mind is starting to clear over time, I would imagine.
Let's ask this, because obviously this is all part of his soul contract. So let's ask this. Why would you become a drug addict in this lifetime? Because his soul is lost. This is a common theme in his lifetimes. His soul is lost. He never engages in any sort of spiritual enlightenment. He always comes from some sort of place of corrupt being. He is very abusive to his wife, very, in many lifetimes. And sometimes you have to crank up, the punishment level to max, which obviously he's done now, in order to make a change. Now, as I see him further out into the future, what is being reported back is he actually becomes some sort of minister in jail.
Right.
He needs to save his soul. And when I say save his soul, I don't mean that on a Southern Baptist kind of terms, right? This is a really fascinating case. It's sad for all those involved, but those of us in the South, this is dying out, right? This is totally dying out. Southern culture, the Southern way of life, it's being eroded. So many people are moving to these Southern states, but this is, probably the last bastion of Southern corruption and aristocracy. That's what makes it so fascinating. There are families that you cannot touch with a barge pole in the South. And this is one of them. And finally, it's all come crashing down.
Okay, that's really all the questions we have. There were some other ones, but of course they've been covered now by what's happened to him. So,
yeah, well, he's going to get convicted. He's going to get convicted. So I think, that's the biggest part of this whole probe. But it's interesting. In fact, the case is going to start soon, so I'm going to have to go. I got to watch it, right? I have to. So thank you, Mr. Shakespeare. This was fun.